Hey up, you bleeders. After two not very good weeks in the UFC, it was back to everyone's favourite warehouse for what looked on paper to be a classic Apex card, i.e. one filled with a bunch of names that even Wikipedia was mostly unaware of. However, we know that sometimes the relatively unknown guys really bring their top games to these cards. So, would we be treated to an Apex event, or would it be the nadir of the UFC's latest cards? Time for us to find out. I'm your host, Danger Mouse, and this is episode 76 of Just Bleed Radio's Weekend Roundup. As always, I'm joined by two of my pals from across the pond. I believe the early start on this card had one of them reaching for a breakfast beer, although a Twisted Tea might have been more appropriate. He's JBR's very own IPA. He's insightful, he's passionate, and he's very, very autistic. Sorry, he's very authentic. He's a California can crusher. It's Austin. How you doing, mate? Hope you're not too hungover.
You know, usually I would be, but I can't. I'm doing good. Barbecue last night, watched some of the fights, passed out. Same old. But I happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Good. And of course, the other guy who saves me from having to host every show. He's a lover of alliteration. He's a logophile who collects words like fighters collect bruises. Give this man a microphone and watch the sesquipedalian of fireworks begin. He's a linguophile who speaks fluent MMA and knows 3 dialects of hype. It's our Midwest cannabis connoisseur from his very own corner in Cleveland. It's Lazybed. I'm presuming you're not hungover, so you ready to talk some fights, mate?
I'm not hungover, but I'm a bit tongue-tied after hearing that wordplay of yours there. That was impressive.
The file who collects words like fighters collect bruises. Give this man a microphone and watch the sesquipedalian of fireworks begin. He's a linguophile who speaks fluent MMA and knows 3 dialects of hype. It's our Midwest cannabis connoisseur.
Yeah, I'm ready to go, ready to talk some fights, and ready to have some fun with you guys. So let's do this.
Yeah, cool. Just one thing before we start. Today's Remembrance Sunday in the UK, when we honour the contribution of British and Commonwealth military and civilian servicemen and women in the 2 world wars and later conflicts. So I'd like to thank all those who have served and those who are currently serving in our armed forces, as well as remembering those who are no longer with us. Thank you all for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Okay, there's a lot to talk about on this main card, so we better crack on. And we're going to start with the opener at middleweight. Christian Leroy Duncan defeating Marco Tulio via KO, spinning back fist and punches at 3 minutes 20 of round 2. I was so upset about this fight. Not the result. I had CLD winning, but I did something I don't think I've ever done before, and I changed my Tapology pick to a decision win from a round 2 TKO. So bloody annoying. This was a fun scrap. The numbers show the guys were closely matched in round 1, both landing similar amounts of significant strikes and both getting a takedown. Duncan's coming right at the end of the round when he simply picked Tulios up and slammed him down. I really wasn't sure who was ahead in this fight, although all 3 judges had the round for CLD, probably because of the blood that was leaking from Tulios' forehead, caused by one of the 2 spinning attacks that he'd thrown in round 1. Somehow CLD found himself bleeding early in the second. Didn't matter though, because Duncan cracked Tulio with a spinning back fist that stunned him, and CLD wasted no time. A jab made sure Tulios wasn't getting a chance to recover, and he followed it up with a picture-perfect straight right that sent him crashing to the floor. He then followed it up with an overhand to Tulios' already unconscious body. Fitting really, because CLD was far more aggressive in this fight than he usually is. He seems to be getting more comfortable and confident in the cage. Now, I was surprised Lazy didn't join me on this pick, because he knows the stats about having a 5-inch reach advantage just about as well as I do. But he did have a strong showing on this card. So we're going to let him focus on the thrill of victory, and Austin can suffer the agony of defeat on this card. Or I guess Austin can do his best to defend the losers, or he can roast them. Either way is good for me. I really don't mind. So, Lazy, what did you think of the fight? How impressed were you with CLD's performance? Any ideas for his next fight? He's currently ranked 33 on Tapology, so there are a ton of interesting opponents for him. He's still only 30 years old, so he's just a couple of years away from his prime. So do you think we see him in the top 15 by the end of next year?
That's a good question. I think it's definitely a possibility. Middleweight isn't quite like welterweight and below. Middleweight is a little bit more open, especially now as guys are kind of aging out. So I could see a world where we see CLD ranked next year. But I want to start and I want to begin by saying, guys, the apex runs on Duncan. And so does Lazy Bet. So someone fetch me a nice latte with a double shot of espresso. I need to pick me up. Come on, let's fucking go. But yeah, I do think I do think that he could be ranked next year. I think it's really possible because people that can listen to this show or new viewers to the show, they can go back and listen to old episodes. When CLD came in, I was pretty high on him. I've been pretty high on this guy for his entire run in the UFC. I will add some context to that, though, and say that when he lost to Armen Petrosyan all the way back in 2022, I kind of thought to myself, and that was only his second bout in the UFC. I was kind of thinking, let's take a step back, let's reevaluate a little bit, but put together a couple more wins, and then he lost to RoboCop. And once again, I kind of had to reassess his stock a little bit and take another look at him. But now he's putting together quite a little run. He's got 3 in a row now. He's got back-to-back finishes, back-to-back bonuses. And suddenly I'm starting to feel once again like maybe my initial thoughts were correct on this guy because he's got the skill set. He's got the athleticism. He's got the size for the division. If anything, he's just kind of had moments where he's had mental lapses, and it seems sort of like that's disappearing. But as far as the performance goes, impressive. That would probably be the word that I would use. Impressive. I mean, the guy, he's clearly a whirling dervish, or at least was a whirling dervish in a past life, because when he spins, he wins. Except for that wheel kick that got him taken down. I believe that was in the first round. That was a pretty stupid move. Kind of did the Valentina where you try a spinning attack in too close and you end up getting your back taken down. But nevertheless, fists, elbows, it doesn't matter. When he spins, he does it well. And you can see him setting up the spinning attacks. And that's the weird part is it normally still works for him. And it worked again in this fight. He cut Tulio with a spinner in the first, the spinning elbow, and then he rocked him with the spinner in the second, the spinning back fist. But it, like you said, Mouse, it was that short right hand that really put Tulio on Dream Street.
Yeah.
It looked like Tulio was he was sleeping like he just had a romp with Big Norm. So give him a little bit of credit there for his escapades in his personal life. At least he's doing well in that aspect. But anyway, a highlight reel finish in a tough matchup for CLD. It's the first time that Duncan closed as an underdog in his 8 UFC fights. So obviously, people think highly of him other than just me here. The bookmakers like him as well. But first time as an underdog, and he still cashes. He's now 3-0 in 2025. Gets that extra $50K for the bonus. So that's pretty good motivation to keep spinning the night away for CLD. And yeah, I had a feeling you were going to ask me about matchups, so I did kind of look into some of these beforehand. First thought is I wouldn't mind seeing him against the winner of Rodolfo Vieira and Bo Nickel. Now, a lot of people are going to kind of scoff at that or snivel at it. But I think that either of those guys, whoever walks out victorious, could really challenge Duncan's grappling because he's not really known to have the greatest grappling. So it could be a more even matchup than a lot of people would anticipate. Alternately, if you just want a fun fight to watch that also kind of makes sense, CLD versus Michal Olszejczyk would be a fun one too. Striking fucking bonanza.
Yeah, both of those would be fun. His second spinning finish win. I think it was an elbow last time, and he got spinning back fist this time. Yeah, spin to win indeed. And Austin, what did you make of the fight? What can Tulios improve, and any ideas for his next opponent?
It was a fun scrap, man. I mean, they went back and forth. It's not like one guy you could argue it was his fight to lose, and that would be CLD's, right? And realistically, I mean, they were trading. Like you said, he wasn't afraid of exchanging in the pocket either, too. And in the clinch, they were kind of 50-50. It seemed like Tulio handed a lot more grappling exchanges, but gave them away more often than not. And I think that's the thing. It's like it was a fun fight for what it was. 2 guys who got into a gunfight. Pretty much, one guy was better shooter than the other, and we know who it was. And Tulio is that dude where you're looking at him, and he has the ability to be a contender in this division, but this is the one thing you would kind of look at and be like, okay, he had a hard time finding his range. He had a hard time minimizing the damage. He had a hard time kind of like getting himself out of the hard, like nose, like grinding. Like, I think had he taken the approach of kind of grinding out CLD, taking the momentum away, making it kind of like a dirty but ugly fight with grappling as the necessary tool to kind of eliminate the range that CLD had, he might have had a better option or better ability to win this fight because he wasn't going to trade and win on the feet because CLD was just the better striker between the two of them. And it was obvious, like from the get-go. You could see that Tulio had opportunities to push the pace against the fence. Like he abandoned 2 takedowns and then he got reversed on one of them and then he got taken down himself. So it wasn't so much that he had the grappling mindset, but he was just kind of like in the fight, and it was CLD just controlling everything from the distance managing to the exchanges to the limited grappling that we did see. Tulio just kind of like allowed the fight to get away from him, and pretty much from the get go, it was CLD's fight in control, and you can see that. And Tulio was just trying to play catch up the rest of the fight. If he started out hard, you got to maintain the discipline because if you get caught up in the fight, sometimes you forget what your game plan is. Like, what's that thing that Tyson always says? Everyone's got a game until somebody, until you get punched in the face. You know what I mean? So it's like he probably got caught up, in the fight itself and forgot what the game plan was because he didn't seem to really have one. And then he got lit up a handful of times, and it just never really recovered. I mean, especially that first spinning what was it, the spinning back elbow, right? And since then, it was just kind of like, okay, yeah, he's not in control of this fight. And then all of a sudden, the back spinning back fist lands because CLD crashes into him. He doesn't think it's gonna land, like he's gonna throw anything because he had done that a handful of times, and he just allowed him to set it up and just didn't question it. And then that finish was just devastating. I mean, if I'm Tulio, hey, it's a learning experience. This is your first run in the UFC. It's going to happen. You're going to eventually you're going to have somebody who's just going to beat the shit out of you, and you're not going to really have much to fight back with. It happens. You'd rather happen at the beginning of your career inside the UFC than later when you're on the trajectory and this is your 10th time trying to get to the title. But this is it's par for the course in middleweight because middleweight's hot right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Last thing I want to add before we move on for CLD, speaking of somebody's going to beat your ass sooner or later, he's got to slow down on the spinny shit because he telegraphs it so hard. And like I was saying, if he faces somebody that can grapple, they're going to see him telegraph on one of those spins and they're going to take his fucking ass down and they're going to submit him. It's like he's got to work on the spinning stuff. Lay off a little bit. Lay off.
Yeah, he's going to do what Grasso did to Valentina.
Mm-hmm.
Step inside. He does seem to halt the strike, though. I thought it almost seems to be getting his head around in enough time to see where he wants to put it. Or maybe I'm just imagining things. I don't know. Obviously, it's a very fast strike. Nonetheless, great performance by him.
Yeah.
Anyway, we normally describe these cards as 2 fat guys at the apex. But this week, we had just 1 fat bastard when Ismail Bonfim obviously couldn't resist the poutine and weighed in at a catch weight of 161 pounds. He faced Chris Padilla, who I can say with 100% certainty will never, ever be criticised for not having his guard up because he had both his hands glued to his head whenever he wasn't punching Bonfim in the face.
Yeah, he's keeping that guard extremely high. He's taking a lot of these shots on the arms. And that's why I think you're seeing Bonfim try to have to find the body. Yep.
I've never seen anyone look like that in a cage before. It was almost comedic watching him, but it certainly worked. Because Bonfim looked pretty strong in the first round, and although he was outstruck all 3 judges did give him that first round. Padilla, though, had been putting in the groundwork, throwing a third of his strikes to Bonfim's legs, mostly while he had him pushed up against the cage, just driving knees into Bonfim's thighs, and that certainly paid dividends in round 2. Padilla came into this fight with a plan, and I think he stuck to it very well, constantly applying forward pressure, blasting Bonfim's lead calf, and stopping him finding any kind of rhythm. I think it's fair to say he broke Bonfim, ultimately winning by TKO at 4 minutes 30 of round 2. Great performance, only spoiled by him begging for a 50k bonus. He probably deserved one, but he could have phrased it better. I'm kind of surprised no one went for the weight misser in this fight. But Austin, I'm afraid you're the one who has to defend the fatty. So what positive things can you bring us from this performance?
Well, I mean, like whoever matched this up, they definitely had this fight pictured the way it happened. Because it's not like Ishmael Bonfim is a guy who's going to show up with boring fights. You know, Chris Padilla, he kind of showed up and he proved why he's a guy to keep an eye out for. Because like Bonfim, despite missing weight, showed up and was ready to fight. You know, that gas tank definitely depleted by the second round, but still, like he went out there trying. I mean, he was throwing to the body, throwing to the legs, throwing to the head as best as he could. He was trying shit, and they're both kind of shorter and stocky for the division to begin with, and they probably, I wouldn't be surprised if they weighed in close to around the same on fight day. Granted, one of them struggled and and botched his weight cut, and the other one, actually was trying to make weight professionally, but it is what it is. Sometimes this happens. I would recommend that Bonfim probably start his diet a little better. Maybe not cut so much water weight on the week of, but that's neither here nor there. For what it was worth, like he tried and he was loading up a lot of his shots. He was throwing out a lot of his, punches with wide hooks and, leaving his chin out there a lot of the times too. And in the grappling exchanges, he looked pretty strong. But again, like come the second round, he's gassing. He's eating a lot more shots and he's not really landing with a lot of efficiency. He's actually hitting, like you said, Padilla's hands were up, like guard, like Yoel Romero did against a handful of his opponents, where he's just kind of keeping his guard up, and you can't really hit him because he's not getting. They're not clean shots that are getting through. Then you see the finishing sequence happen, and you're looking at Bonfim just kind of like slowly but surely deteriorate. Like because he lands on him a handful of times and then this knee comes in and knee like does the majority of the work and he's struggling to get back into it, and you see him like he'd even land a shit ton of damage like in that finishing sequence, but you could just see it was like just timed perfectly to where like the Chris Dione was the ref, right? And he's watching this happen, and there was a sequence where he just like doesn't really land, and Bonfim just falls back, and he's like, "Shit!" And he just looks up, and Taco's on top of him, just about to start fucking bludgeoning him, and he's like, "Fuck, man." God damn it! There's a point where like Bonfim's on his back and he's like throwing hammer fist back and he's just like, "Fuck, this sucks!" Like, God damn it! Taco's like, "I got you now, bitch." Just and to Bonfim's credit, he tried. I think he knew his back was against the wall. I think he knew that if it goes the distance, he's going to lose regardless because he wasn't prepared physically to go the distance due to the weight cut botch. And for all of his credit, or for all of his faults, I should say, he tried. And I think that's the thing you can say about both of these guys is that in this division, you have to be able to, be willing to put your spot on the line. And because, a loss like this can set you back 2 years to making a title contention run. And Taco, if he's on that run or trajectory right now, who knows? It's still early in his UFC run too. And Bonfim has been kind of hit or miss as of late, so he might be struggling regardless. He's not old, but he's not young either. So he has like a chance to rebound after this. Hopefully he gets his weight cut situation under control, because if he makes the weight properly, he probably looks okay, but he still, I think, loses to Padilla. But those are the handful of things he could do. It's not the end of the world. Lightweight is full of guys you could beat the shit out of. And there's like guys who will just run through you no matter what. He just found a guy that just didn't give him any room to lose, and he lost pretty badly. So it is what it is. But it was fun scrap while it lasted.
Yeah, for sure. I enjoyed this one. Lazy, what do you think of this fight? And do you think Padilla's perhaps been underrated? Any ideas where he can go next? I don't know if you've had any chance to do a bit of research on that.
Taco burrito kisses. That's not racist. That's a South Park throwback. Okay, go fuck yourself.
Taco, taco, don't think just because I got a lot of money, I'll give you taco flavored kisses, honey. Fulfill all your wishes with my taco flavored kisses.
His name is Taco. You guys can go to hell. Anyway, yeah, I do have several things to say on this, and you guys kind of nailed it all on the money today, fellas. But some of this may be a bit of repeating, but yeah, and I also have some matchmaking. So let's fucking go Taco. First off, that's EKC Leiden's boy, guys. Former training partner of EKC.
Oh.
Yeah. When he came into the UFC, Casey told us all, like, this guy in the gym, he's one of those dudes, works harder than just about anyone in the room, always there early, leaves late, that kind of a guy. And you hear that often, but when you hear it from somebody like Casey, who, like, we don't know the guy, but we see him enough and heard from him enough that we know if he's saying that about somebody, like, he's probably telling the truth. And yeah, I think he definitely has been telling the truth, because I think, like you pointed out, Mouse, he's kind of a criminally underrated dude. He's not getting a lot of shine. He's not getting a lot of spotlight, and he probably should be. 7 wins in a row now, 4-0 in the UFC, hasn't lost a fight in 3.5 years, has 14 of his 17 career wins by finish. And he's also, when you look at his record, he's fought like literally everywhere. If there's a regional promotion, he's probably been there. Like, he has run the gamut. So he's an experienced, tenured guy. And like I said, now 4 fights in the UFC, and he's won them all. So, I mean, we got to kind of start taking a look at Chris Padilla and really kind of giving him more credit than we have been. But it's kind of an opposite situation of CLD, who we were just talking about, because Padilla is highly underrated and really not getting a lot of credit, where CLD was possibly overrated and getting too much credit in the beginning. Taco actually closed as the underdog in all 4 of his UFC fights. So he's even being underrated by the fucking odds makers, including in this one where you guys pointed out Bonfim missed weight by fucking 5 pounds. So, and the extra weight, it definitely did not equate to extra staying power, because it was Padilla who had the impenetrable guard, as we've been mentioning, and the impregnable defense, to quote Mr. Mike Tyson. He had that guard up fucking sky high, wrapped around his head. He stayed trudging forward the whole time. He was looking for the openings, and when he was finding them, he was capitalizing on them. And while I did love his ability to shell up like that, he is going to need to get a little bit more active early. That would be maybe my one criticism, because while he was kind of kicking the legs and doing stuff, you could have very easily argued that Bonfim won that first round. So had he not gassed out so hard in the second or crumbled under the pressure, we could have been looking at a different fight where Padilla may have found himself needing a finish at some point to win the fight. But either way, that could have also been possibly just part of the game plan to try to gas out the man who missed weight. We know that's often the case. So if it was, it did seem to work, and that pressure and his ability to absorb the punishment, it was fucking huge. In fact, the turning point, I thought, in the second round was actually Taco taking multiple body shots from Bonfim and then landing one of his own. I think it was a big right hand to the breadbasket that just shifted the tides completely. So it was really a story of weathering the storm and then coming out on the other side as the fresher guy. And very impressive stuff for a guy who's only 30 years old, fighting out of Gardena, California. So probably somewhere maybe Austin's familiar with. Yeah. And for our next matchup, I did do a little bit of matchmaking here. My booking for the most entertaining and logically acceptable next matchup for a Chris Padilla would be Cowboy Fernandez. That is the guy who kicked the leg off of Harry Hardwick back in September. Yeah, I could see these two having a 3-round war and just going at it over 15 minutes. If not a Fernandez, maybe somebody like a Kyle Nelson. He's the guy that looks like GC from the Ariel Helwani show, who just put away Matt Frivola a couple weeks back. They could also have a good 3-round war. I think would be a fun fight.
Yeah, they all sound good. I think he's particularly planned for this fight because as another YouTube commentator likes to say, Bonfim is fond of throwing those big meaty hooks. So he just kept his hands glued to his head, and that's, as you said, gave him the opportunity. Because once you start throwing to the body, you open yourself up to be re-attacked anyway.
A question for you two guys before we move on: do you think that he was because it looked to me like Bonfim was throwing everything like full force, like those big meaty hooks were really coming in at 100%. Do you think he was doing that because he knew he only had one round of gas due to the botched weight cut?
It's quite possible. I mean, obviously the extra weight does add to your power a little bit, but yeah, it would make sense. Try and take the guy out in the first round.
Yeah, because it almost seemed like he knew.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It's like he knew if I don't get him out in the first one or two rounds, I'm probably losing a decision because even like you said, he might have won the first hand, but you could see him slowing down regardless. And it's not like Padilla was giving him a whole lot of response. Regardless, he just was like, I'm gonna win, and
Yeah.
he knew. He knew.
Because he was fucking winging those hooks like 150 miles per hour, hitting all arms and just gassing himself out. Like that, kind of a dumb game plan, really, but whatever.
Yeah, I can safely say it hurts hitting someone's elbow, even when you're wearing gloves. Really, really annoying. Next up, we had the feature bout at welterweight. Uros Medic defeating Muslim Salikov via TKO punches at 1 minute 3 of the first round. Not much to talk about here. Medic hurt Salikov very early on and did not give his wounded prey any chance of escape, finishing the fight with a peachy straight left. I went with Salikov, but I know one man who didn't, and that was Lazy. So I guess you're pretty happy with the result. And any idea who you'd like him to fight next? And commentary on the fight, of course, obviously.
Medic, call a doctor, but not for Uros. Elderly abuse, guys. This was elderly abuse. And it was elderly abuse that was fit for BC and LT. I think that they would have approved of this and been proud. Let's just tell it like it is. Uros Medic, he's not really that good, but he hits like a fucking truck, and he's only 32. Muslim Salikov, he's all right, but he's 41, and he doesn't have a chin. Not even his Abraham Lincoln beard can hide that fact.
Oh my god!
But yeah, I'm talking about the winners here, so let's get back on track. It was the first left hand that actually connected. It sent fucking Salikov stumbling. The first left hand, the very first one. After which, he immediately rolled over and shelled up to the fucking ground and pound. And that was pretty much it. 2 KOs in a row for the doctor now, who did give an impassioned speech afterwards. He said he wants bonuses, but he doesn't want them for the money. No, he would rather have them for the recognition. He's pissed off that he's finishing all these guys and he's fighting the way he is, so balls to the wall, and he's not getting any recognition, I guess, on Wikipedia and Tapology and shit like that. Like, he wants that special badge on there so people know he's a fucking go get him guy, which he is. He totally is. And much like Taco Padilla in the fight prior, he learned that asking for money in the UFC is the most definitive way to not get any. Excluded from the extra cash and excluded from the adulation that he was seeking so badly. But he does now have the third most knockouts in the UFC since 2021. He's only behind Steve Garcia and Poeton in that category. So good company there. And he's not really a guy that, like, I know I don't really think of Uros Medic when I think of fun action fighters and guys with knockout power. And that's sad to say because that's pretty much all he is and what he does. He's either knocking people out or he's getting knocked out. And those are the kind of guys the UFC loves. The matchmakers love them. They're the glue guys on a fight roster of athletes who they're going to take fights and they're going to be fun in those fights no matter who you face them against. He doesn't always have to be matched against the highest level of competition. You could just kind of stick him in there with whoever and you're going to get an entertaining fight. And you can't say that about a lot of guys. So yeah, at the end of the day though, not a whole lot you can really take away from 63 seconds. But if Medic can continue to bring the pressure that he brings and throw with the bad intentions that he does while staying defensively sound, and that's the key there. Maybe he could take some hints from Taco. He could really string together some wins at 170. So as far as a matchup or matchmaking goes, how about Renat Fakhretdinov? They don't seem to want to give either Medic or Fakhretdinov a move up the rankings. So why don't you just stick them both together? They're guaranteed to go toe-to-toe and bang it out. So give me Fakhretdinov versus Medic.
I like that.
Yeah, sounds fun. Yeah, as you said, another guy who asked for a bonus but did not get one. Austin, Austin, you joined me in defeat on this one. So what's next for our aging Russian? Any fun fights for him, or is it just time for him to hang up the gloves? 41 years old at welterweight is just not the best place to be.
No, it's not. But remember, he just came off of a knockout win over Carlos Leal, right? Like he just knocked him out in like the first 30 seconds. This is a cruel game. This sport is a cruel mistress, and she's a fucking malevolent bitch. And she, like,
She's at 41.
yeah, because he just got the knockout win over Carlos Leal, and then he literally gets knocked out early in this fight, and it's like the tale of two fights. He has trouble seeing strikes come at him, and he does have a harder time sustaining damage, as we can tell. Like if you get clipped, also it could just be like, hey, he got clipped early and just was not able to defend himself. That happens. That happens a lot. I mean, shit. I mean, how many times do we see guys come in and they're just like, we're gonna think this is gonna be a great fight, and they just get dusted up in the first 30 seconds, and it's like, oh shit, okay, That's kind of what it looked like, a regional fight, and it just like, okay, yeah, the older guy definitely got caught early. My thinking on it is, it's like, look, if he's at the end of his contract, they're probably not going to re-sign him. If he's got one more in him, and you have Wonder Boy at any given goddamn moment available and healthy, both of these men, I mean, I would be happy if he's like, dude, I just want to be able to just retire with fighting Wonder Boy. I'm like, hey, fuck it, win, lose, or draw. Both of them go in. They're both in their 40s now, and just let them fight. Who gives a shit? It's not like either of them are going to make a title run anytime soon, and neither of them are going to be huge names outside of the promotion. I would prefer them just do that. Wonder Boy or bust. But if they're not going to give him Wonder Boy, he might as well just retire in his next fight, because it's like not necessary for him to keep fighting unless he can only do this. He might even go to, Lazy said, yeah, karate combat's fun. He has a home there. He doesn't have to go to BKFC. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right, I suppose. Yeah,
We have brought it up before.
I'm not sure he was that. After that first kick down into his body, I'm not sure if he didn't suddenly at that point even think like, "Oh shit, I'm really not enjoying this fight already." That was a really.
It might, but you could tell Uros Medic had his number. That was the thing on it, and Stolikov is good, but he's also that dude where it's like like I said, literally knocked out Carlos Leal, who looked like a fucking monster in his last two fights, and then he gets, he gets a guy in Uros Medic who's like, he's not. You don't think of him as a killer, even though he's got a couple of knockouts, right? But all of a sudden, he's on the end of a vicious knockout himself against Uros Medic, and now we're like, I don't know, maybe it might be time for him to call it a career. But just one more fight. If it's Wonder Boy, great. If it's not, then just retire, my dude.
I think Salikov got hit by that fucking body kick, and he probably thought, like the sound clip on the BCX, he thought to himself, "Oh, that Serbian guy, he hits hard." And then, real quick though, before we move on, I did want to point out crazy fucking synchronicity on this. Uros Medic now, his last two fights, the Salikov one and his one prior against Gilbert Urbina, both of them ended at the exact same moment, down to the second, virtually in the same way. Both KOs, both at 1 minute, 3 seconds in the first round.
That is crazy.
Bink, bink.
Damn.
Never been to a decision in his entire career.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
That's awesome.
Fuck yeah.
Love those kind of fighters. Anyway, swiftly onto the co-main. I say swiftly, we've been at this for ages. Where flyweight Matt Schnell lived up to his name by being very quickly guillotined by Joseph Morales. This time I picked fighter and method, but I thought Schnell would put up more opposition, which is very much not the case, and we ended with a round one submission at 2 minutes 54. Schnell was the one who initiated the grappling, and boy, was that a mistake, because Morales swept him, gained top position, tried for a Kimura, transitioned into a crucifix, and then switched position again before he got the gilly. Gorgeous grappling here from Morales, completely dominant, great performance. This is your kind of weight class, Austin. And now we all pick Morales in this one, but nonetheless, you have to try and salvage something from this performance. So you can just roast Schnell or whatever you like, really.
Oh God! Thank you for that setup. No, I mean, Morales is a guy who's found his way back into the UFC, and unlike Schnell, has improved, right? Schnell has been the same guy since he's been in there, and then because he retired, and then came, back within like 7 months. So it's like, right? It's just not like you can look at Schnell and think like, oh, he's a good fighter. It's not that. It's like, or I don't even want to like downplay and talk shit about him. It's like, yeah, he's had some moments in the sport and inside the UFC, and he's definitely that dude that kind of like a Tim Elliott. You're gonna look at him and you're like, yeah, he's a tough out. Even if you kind of do get to run him over a handful of times, like you'll see him kind of push back occasionally against some of these younger guys or some of the guys who are like, supposed, better fighters and whatnot in this division. And this division is kind of like, rebounding after the, Cejudo and Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno like situation that we had. And, there's contenders in this division who need guys like Matt Schnell to kind of, hey, here's a name, here's a body, prove that you can compete in this division against some of the better guys. And this is a good look for Morales because it's Schnell. Schnell is that guy who's going to show up, give you a fight, whether he gets his ass kicked or, because he just decides to make a dumb mistake. Uh, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. You need guys like him. You also need him to win. I don't know if he can get much wins these days, but if he's competitive, at least you have a guy that you could depend on to give a decent account of himself, and then put some shine on someone like Morales. That's what he's there for. You would like to see him win every now and again, but like if he's just going to get his ass kicked by these guys who are better, it's not like he got like bludgeoned to death, but he definitely got handled. And Morales is good, and that proves the point. So, Schnell's capable, but definitely he's on the edges of contendership, or if he's ever going to get back there again, I doubt it, but we'll see.
Yeah, very fair. Lazy, as I said, we all pick Morales. Difficult not to be happy with a performance like that. I'm not sure where he's ranked, but if they're putting him on as a co-main even at the Apex, the UFC must have some hope for him. So, any ideas for his next fight? And did you spot anything you think he needs to work on? Go on, Hidayat.
I mean, I don't know any about rankings, but I did say going into this fight, I don't know what the fuck we're doing with a goddamn Matt Schnell co-main in almost 2026. Like, come the fuck on, man. Like, Apex or no Apex, what the fuck? Like, I don't know if a bout fell out or something. I'm guessing it had to have, because there's no way this was the intended co-main. Like, I mean, the guy, like Austin said, just came out of retirement recently, and his only win was over Jimmy fucking Flick. Like, come on, dude. Jimmy Flick. Oh, anyway. And again, to touch on something Austin said that he didn't really want to shit on Matt Schnell or say anything too bad about him. Well, I do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll say it. He's a doormat. Get it? A doormat. He's a danger to his own well-being. Danger Schnell. Get it? And he's an utter Schnell of himself. I could go all night. Anyway, back on track, though, once again, as I said before, I'm focused on winners. And there's absolutely only one winner in this equation, and that's my guy, Joseph Morales. Here, showing every bit of that team alpha male pedigree down to the method of victory. Now, if I told you guys that a fighter out of alpha male had won by a submission, you would almost assuredly guess it was a guillotine choke. And right you fucking would be, right? You would be. Just great scrambling and physicality from the man that they affectionately call Boppo. That's such a fun nickname, Boppo. Come on. But yeah, he really did look just more physically imposing and more, I for lack of a better word, athletic in this fight. Not that Schnell's not, because Schnell he's been around the block a long time. He's been there for a while. He's shown that he's capable in a variety of fields of the game, but despite being like the slightly undersized guy here, it just really felt like Morales was more physically imposing. It seemed apparent in all realms. And he's another one of these guys that kind of ran the gamut of regional MMA promotions before getting to the UFC, and actually spending some time on Tough before coming into the UFC as well. But he's done a lot of things. He's been a lot of places, so he's an experienced guy. And I think for those type of dudes, coming to the UFC and making that transition is a lot easier, because the lights aren't as bright. The UFC jitters aren't as much of a thing. Like, you kind of been around the world, you've been around the country, you've fought different names in different places, and it's beneficial. So, for someone that hasn't had the easiest run to now be 2-0 in the UFC and riding a 7-fight win streak, you can't be mad at that. As far as matchups go, I did kind of look into this. As far as matchups go, I did kind of look into the matchups. And pickings are a bit slim at 125, but upon a quick perusing of the rankings and the guys on Tapology, I think I came up with an absolute banger. His opponent, 11-3, 4-fight win streak, just won his UFC debut back in September. He's the primary sparring partner of Joshua Van, fighting out of 4-ounce Fight Club in Houston, Texas. Give me Joseph Morales versus Alden Korea. Many people won't remember him, but trust me, go back and watch him. He's a good fighter. It's certified flyweight flames, so that's my matchup here.
Okay, I'm going to take your word for that one.
Yeah, most people will.
All right, then, on to the main event. At welterweight, Gabriel Bonfim defeating Randy Brown via TKO knee in the second round, 1 minute 40. I thought we'd see Bonfim taking his usual approach and attempting to take the fight to the ground, where he'd try and finish things with a sub, because that's what he does, right? And I thought Rude Boy would be able to stop a lot of takedown attempts, and eventually use his 5-inch reach that I mentioned earlier in the CLD fight. I thought he'd use that advantage to get a win in the later rounds, third round at TKO, I picked. Turned out that Bonfim wasn't feeling in the mood to snuggle. He was in the mood to do the man dance, and he did a pretty good job of it. He worked over Brown's calves, landing 18 out of 22 kicks in the first round, severely compromising his movement by the time the second round came around. Being a tall, lanky guy can be great, but it also means that you're not carrying that much meat on your bones. Trust me, I know. So if you have that frame and that wide stance, you have to check kicks, and Brown just mostly didn't bother. By round 2, Bonfim was happy staying in the pocket and exchanging, and that was how we had what I think was the only controversial decision/refereeing moment of the night, when he blasted a knee to Brown's chin, sent him sprawling to the floor. Mark Smith jumped in and stopped the fight. Brown protested, but it was over. So, Lazy, you picked Bonfim. How impressed were you with this performance? And who do you want to see him fight next? With this new confidence in his striking game, how dangerous is he? How high can he go? And also your thoughts on the stoppage. Quite a lot to go out there.
Yeah, you give me a whole chest to unpack there. But I would say, just to start with, how impressed was I with him? Honestly, pretty damn impressed. More impressed than I thought I would be. And I got an opening line and a tagline for this. And the tagline is, "A rude boy is no match for the assassino de pernas." And that means the leg killer. Yeah, I learned some Brazilian Portuguese just for this fucking fight. Because that's what he is, man. That's what Bonfim is. And you fucking nailed it, talking about and pointing out those calf kicks. Within 2 minutes of the first round, Randy's lead leg was 2 times its normal size. It turned your shins to fucking swords because we were chopping that calf meat. 16 leg kicks in 4 minutes. 16 in 4 minutes. That's crazy. That's fucking nuts. And like you said, 18 in the first round. Like, man, oh man, like I've never taken a calf kick. I hope I never do take a calf kick. But from what I hear, they really fucking suck. And just a couple of them can really change your night and change your next day even. So 18 in 5 minutes with those slender legs that Randy has. Whew, I mean, I bet you his shit is just fucking inflamed and throbbing today. I can only imagine. But yeah, back to Bonfim. He's a guy who has closed as the favorite in all 7 of his UFC fights. And outside of the lone loss to Nicholas Dalby, where I think he kind of got out ahead of his skis in that fight, I can see why he has closed as the favorite. The fucking dude's solid. I mean, he is solid. Striking, defensive responsibilities, grappling, strength, speed. Like, he is genuinely above average or better in every category that you can come up with. And that's going to lead to success. The only question with him, and it's reared its ugly head a few times, is his gas tank. And we know we can attribute that to a number of things. Like, I don't think that the guy is slacking in the gym. I'm pretty sure he's training hard. I'm pretty sure he's doing the work to build the cardio. But maybe he could do a little bit more of that. That's maybe one knock you could put on him. The other biggest criticism I'd give would, I can't think of much of anything, but maybe tuck the chin a little more. That's about it. He kind of hangs the chin up there a little bit, but that's just nitpicking. The biggest kudos I would give him in this fight would be his patience and his pacing. At no point was he doing too much, unlike his brother earlier in the night, but he never rested and he never waited for Randy to get going. If there was a lull in the action at any point, Gabriel was the one capitalizing on it. He was the one making the most of it. And the longer things went on, the more desperate Rude Boy looked to become. He couldn't find an answer, and he couldn't seem to land anything to gain the respect of Bonfim. And it was just downhill. It was a bad night for him. So yeah, just pretty phenomenal showing here from him. As far as the next matchup goes, I didn't mind the call out of Colby. I think that sort of rubbed a lot of people the wrong way and pissed a lot of people off. I would love to see it, but I will say we all know that shit ain't fucking happening. Like, Colby wants a corpse or no one. He's not fighting Gabriel Bonfim. So he's kind of in a tough spot because most of the guys, when you look at who's ranked above him, they're all booked up or they're going to want to fight up. They're not really looking to fight somebody backwards. So booking from a logic standpoint, I and for fun, I would say, what about Gabriel Bonfim versus Joel Alvarez? Joel Alvarez, who just made his debut at 170, just made the move up. Looked fairly decent in his fight against Vicente Luque, but a lot of people, myself included, thought he looked kind of lackluster. So what about a Bonfim versus a Joel Alvarez? I think there would be a lot of danger whenever they came together and whenever they clashed. So that's my matchup for him.
Yeah. Okay, Austin, you can close the main card for us. Your thoughts on the fight. What's next for Brown? Where can he go from this? And if you want to expand on Bonfim as well, I don't mind at all.
Well, I thought it was pretty interesting because, like Lazy said, he just Randy just allowed Bonfim to kind of establish the range and then the exchanges on his terms. And that was kind of interesting because it's usually Randy's pretty lackadaisical on his own, but he finds his range pretty quick. He's usually pretty good about kind of maintaining his range and distance and managing the fight from a decent point. He, man, it's frustrating because, like you said, all of a sudden the leg kick started and he just kind of just ignored them. And then he just allowed them to keep landing. And then even when he would check them, it was just kind of as a necessity to keep his his range. And even then, it wasn't even like he was addressing that they were an issue. And then on top of it too, you're looking at Randy and he's trying to land in the pocket and he's doing very well at keeping his straight and going combinations. Uh, but there is this moment where it's Bonfim just figures out, oh yeah, if I kick his leg and he can't respond to it, I can actually trap him and then land a couple of shots and he won't register it. There's a little bit of a grappling exchange, but even then it's it was on Bonfim's terms. And you can look at the fight itself and think, okay, Randy should have had this on paper. Randy's fought the better guys. Randy's done better against a lot of the better guys. And you look at where the Bonfim brothers are. One of them is clearly better. This one is the better Bonfim. But he's used, like Lazy said, the Wonder Boy fight stands out for me as a thing of I don't know, gas tank was questionable, striking was at best mediocre in that fight, and then in this fight he shows up. I think it's one of those things, like you said, you watch the fight and you're thinking to yourself, okay, this is not the end for Randy Brown, but it does give us a glimpse into what his ceiling is, and the other guy is Bonfim, where we're looking at him okay, he has some things that he can work on, but he's showing up and he's actually showing a lot better of a result than his brother is. And, welterweight and lightweight are not the same division, but it does kind of have similarities, in which case, if you can beat the old guard, you can find success in that division. And one of them is actually doing that consistently. And unfortunately, it's the Bonfim in the welterweight division. And if we're going to be pretty damning of Rude boy. Like if you got to check leg kicks, man, or adjust your game, because if you allow your opponent to establish their game plan or their strategy, and without really testing it or trying to deviate from what you're doing because obviously it's not working, you have an issue fundamentally with your game plans. Then, like if you're not willing to change up what you're doing, he tried to close the distance a lot more, but that actually ended up working against him. Like that's the thing. The stoppage, I didn't hate it, but it was definitely early. And you know it's not a bad stoppage when Dominic Cruz says, yeah, that was a tough one." That did it. That's what did it for me. I'm like, if he is on his way, because God forbid if that had been fucking Keith Peterson that did it, he would have fucking went out of his way to fucking be like, "Oh my God, it was a travesty, bullshit." But he should let us die in the cage. But no, it wasn't. He was actually like honest about it, and it was just funny because he's usually kind of like that dude who's like, "Let us die in the cage, leave me alone." Like, all right, my guy, all right. So even he said that was a tough stoppage to figure out because, like, he's out on his feet, hits the mat, wakes up, and he's still wobbly on his walk around the cage. Like you could tell he was hurt still, and he was kind of like not 100% there, kind of trying to clear the cobwebs and whatnot. But like he was done. Like unlike the CLD one where they allowed that final like hit to go in, he would have been out regardless. Why he suffered that's on the ref to stop that from happening. Is what it is. But good for Bonfim. Shucks for Brown. It is what it is. I thought it was entertaining either way.
Yeah, certainly was. Did you think anything bad of the stoppage? I thought it was a decent stoppage, to be honest. Lazy, any thoughts on the stoppage?
I thought it was a pretty decent stoppage. I mean, granted, in real time, I could see why some people objected to it. But when you go back and you watch those replays, that was a good stoppage. Randy Brown had the stink eye as he was going down.
Yeah.
You could tell he was not. Go ahead.
I was going to say, when your neck flops like a noodle and your head hits backwards on the cage, you're out.
Exactly. Yeah. And then between the stink face and the eye going back in his head as he was falling backwards, and then the head nearly smacking off the canvas and the whiplash effect as he landed. Yeah, like you can argue he was getting ready to defend himself and defend for the ground strikes when Mark Smith stopped it, but when you watch it in the sequence of events, like Mark Smith was already on his way to stop that fight before Randy Brown kind of snapped back to however little bit of consciousness he regained. But yeah, I thought it was a good stoppage.
Yeah. Oh, cool. The thing I was going to say was, if you want to Bonfim to fight Colby, White House, he'd fight anyone there.
That is true.
You should just fucking cut him.
Yeah, I agree on that one as well. The other thing I was trying to think of was when we always talk about veterans, and I wonder how so many of them would have done with the calf kicks that we have in the modern game. I could think of one in particular I don't think I'd do very well, but I'm not going to mention that fucker's name.
And everybody, thank you. And this is still my boy.
I think I already know who it is.
Yeah, it's not difficult to work out. Okay, that's the main card done with, so it's time for us to plough through the prelims as we pick our best from the rest. And Austin, I'm going to give you the first shot. Anything from the prelims you want to talk about?
I was going to talk about Simon and Barcelos because that was a fun little scrap. Good win for Barcelos. It was one of those fights where it's like bantamweight is always fun to watch no matter what, and that's proof in the pudding right there. And then the one I will talk about though is Marcos versus Johns. A tale of two careers, if I was going to be so bold as to say. Johns was a guy we looked at in this division, and he had a lot of promise, and then he hit the harder like midsection of the bantamweight division and has not been able to claw his way out of there. And he's had some really tough fights and some tough losses, man. He's a scrapper. Like, John Lineker, I believe, used to be that guy before making a title run, making a run to the title. And then he met T.J. Dillashaw, right? Marcos is that guy you kind of don't think about in this division. He was 17-1 heading into this fight. His lone loss was to Montel Jackson, right? And granted, he's now 5-1-1 with a draw being the other. And That's not easy to do. And he's not even on his way to a title yet. Like, he's young enough to get there, but like this is why bantamweight's so fun, is because you have these guys like Marcos and Johns who are just kind of like, okay, they're in there, they are going to scrap. Was the fight super entertaining? Not necessarily, but you had like a great display from Marcos, and you got to see a finish from Marcos. That's good. That's a guy who's capable, and he has a really good record. He's fought really good guys. This is a guy you want to see make their way up into the rankings eventually. And whether we get to see him there or not, his division is super stacked. I would like to see more changes in the top 15 at bantamweight, but you can't really go wrong. It's kind of like how lightweight is, where it's like you could take a stick and throw it at any 10 bantamweights in the division, and most of them are going to probably could beat a lot of the guys in the 15 to 5 range of the division. And it's fun. That's fun when you have like a really good deep division that has nothing but good fighters in it. That says something about the division itself.
Okay. Lazy, do you see anything you liked from what's left? Or hated, perhaps?
I do. Yeah, definitely. And I would like to say good shout there with the Marco shout, Austin, because that's my Peruvian brother. My Uncle Kemflo's cousin, straight out of Peru. Good win there. Love it. Love to see it. Yeah, but for my best of the rest is actually, it's kind of a best and a worst. And for it, I have a bit of a poem, actually. Joshua Hokett, you're an absolute bum. But soon you'll be ranked, because heavyweight's dumb. You'll look like a champ, but you'll fight only chumps. And out of your mouth will pour a bunch of big dumps. Now, lucky for you, nothing will matter, because although you're fat, your opponents are fatter. So enjoy your stint as one of the best before it's off to the warehouse with the pitiful rest. Ugh, Josh Hogan, you sicken me. You sicken me. This guy's going to be ranked. He's going to be a fucking ranked heavyweight, no matter if we like it or not. I don't like his shtick. I can't stand his fucking shtick.
Agreed.
It's played out. It's worn out. It's overdone. It wasn't funny the first time a fighter thought to do it. It's not funny the 15th. So Josh Hokett, please come up with something different. There's a million gimmicks you could have. Come up with a different gimmick. But that aside, he's going to be a ranked heavyweight based solely off of his athleticism. The guy's got an athletic pedigree, and it fucking shows in the cage, and it especially shows against these big, fat, fucking sloppy heavyweights who can't fucking walk down a set of steps without their knees knocking together. So, yeah, he's probably going to be ranked just based off of his speed and his agility and his explosiveness. But he's going to get fraud checked, and mark my words, he's going to get fraud checked as soon as he goes up against any other heavyweight that has anywhere near the same amount of athleticism. As soon as he goes up against a guy who's almost as quick as him and can either stop his grappling and punch him in the face or take him down themselves, he's going to get fraud checked, because when he faces adversity, he's not going to want to be in there. So I expect Josh Hokett to be ranked in 2026, but when he goes up against anybody decent, he's going to lose.
Yeah. Former 49er there, stealing all of Chael's lines and trying to be a better heel than Colby Covington.
Oh, God. I hate the word cringe, but cringe.
Yeah, all right. Then for me, it had to be Zach Reese beating, I didn't write the guy's name, McAvey on the cards opener. McAvey started really strong in the fight, hurt Reese with some knees to the body, as well as gashing him up with a wide open above his left eye. And then he messed up and gave us the first nut shot of the fight, take a shot, which in my opinion gave Reese just enough time to recover. He took a couple of minutes break after the foul, and then it was straight back to it, exchanging knees and tomahawk elbows in a proper Muay Thai battle they were having. And then Reese decided that was a bad idea. Took McVeigh down, exhibited some nice BJJ skills, sank in the reverse triangle that never really threatened anything. And then round two, Reese just did not want to do that man dance against the Moose. He went for the takedown, took McVeigh down, eventually snatched up a rear naked choke and earned the tap. I had the first round pick for this fight. Didn't expect him to win by silver, I freely admit. Very nice job, great fight, and well worth the 50k performance bonus. It's not often you see an opener on a Make Apex card getting a 50k bonus, so very well done there. And yeah, just one more order of business to take care of then, and that means it's time for us to rate that card. And we'll keep with the order that we went last time. Sometimes going first is good, sometimes you're not. Austin, take it away. You can have first shot.
Oh, I hate this fight. I actually quite enjoyed. This fight card. Like I quite enjoyed it, and upon rewatch too, it's like I enjoyed a decent amount of the fights too. Like when the main card is nothing but finishes, that's usually a good sign. And on top of it too, it's like yes, it's the apex, so you don't actually have to pay attention to everything. But when you kind of look through there's not. It's hardly like they're not the best fights on some of the prelims, but like goddamn, like you could see. That's why I like the bantamweight division and the flyweight division. It's like it's usually hard to not like find good fights or good fighters, and that's why it's like okay for me. The Nasdaq score is usually a 10, like whatever you could get. Like the most in the Apex is usually about a 7 or 2, maybe sometimes about a 6. But I would say because the card was as good as it was, I'll give it a 7.5. Like I enjoyed it. Main card killed it, and you can't really ask for much more.
Indeed not. Lazy, go on. We're keeping in order so you can have the second shot.
Yeah, Austin again on the money. Been pretty much in agreement with both you guys for the majority of our thoughts today, and I kind of feel the same as Austin. This was, I can't believe I'm going to say this, a pretty exceptionally good Apex card. Maybe there wasn't a ton of name value, but it's the Apex, so you don't expect much of that. But as far as the fights and the fight results went, pretty fucking good, really. Like I did watching it last night, kind of distracted and doing other stuff, being in the MCM chat and shit like that. Like it didn't seem that great, but then going back today and rewatching the main card before we recorded this, it was pretty fucking solid. And looking at some of the bouts that were supposed to be on here that got canceled or fizzled out, we were supposed to have Robert Valentine, Danger Mouse's favorite Viking fighter with the rune tattoos. He fell out. Yeah, he was supposed to be on here. He was supposed to face Jackson McVeigh, actually. And then Adrian Yanez was also supposed to be on here, and his opponent, Christian Quinones, withdrew, and because of that, Yanez completely pulled himself off the card instead of taking a replacement. So it was really good. It had the potential to have been even better. So, yeah, definitely above average. Got to go above 5. 6 even kind of seems a little bit lackluster. I don't know if I want to go as high as a 7. 6.5. I'm giving it a 6.5. This is a good card.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty decent offer from Lazy there. So what am I going to go? I'm kind of in the in between you two. I agree. It was a very good card. I did pretty well on my picks. I went 8 out of 12 on this card. Not bad at all. And it's always a better card when I get most of the fights right. Even if I don't get. Even if I didn't get the main event right this time. So yeah, who do I want to be? Do I want to be slightly more generous or slightly less generous? I'm going to do a Price is Right kind of thing, and I'm going to go for 7.51.
Just had to be just one slightly more than me.
$1, Bob.
Do you guys have anything else you want to mention from this week?
Oh god, I watched too many things to even remember. No, it'll take me too long to think about. There was a lot. Which card was it? Tough Enough? Was it Tough Enough from this weekend? The one girl, the bloodied the ever living shit out of the other girl. Kaposa posted the clip. I shared it on Discord. Fuck, I can't think of it right now.
I saw that one as well. From you posting it.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
couldn't even stand up. She was slipping in her own blood.
Yes, yeah. That was what I was gonna say. There was she pulled so much blood around herself that she couldn't even stand up because it was like a slip and slide. Yeah. So watch the Tough Enough card from this past weekend. There's a good chick fight. It's a fun card.
Yeah, I've heard of mud wrestling. I've never heard of blood wrestling. Anything from you, Austin? Anything you want to bring up?
No, just barbecued. I passed out while playing video games last night. So, one of these days I'm going to be able to finally make it past like 11 o'clock.
One day.
One of these days. One day.
Hey, you fell asleep before 11 o'clock and you broke your toilet. You're well on your way to being Luke Thomas.
This is true. Hey, I'm getting there.
Okay, well, I've been very pleased to see that Dakota's back in training. Her hand is healed, so hopefully we'll be seeing her fighting sometime in the near future, if not this year, very early next year. She looks very happy about it. And I also want to give a quick shout out to a show that I really enjoy. It's called the Ultimate Self-Defense Challenge. It's from Rockus Leo on YouTube. It's the 3rd season. It features all kinds of martial artists, including some professional fighters. I believe one of the guys is an ex-UFC fighter. They get put in different scenarios and they're scored on how well they handle each scenario. It's very eye-opening. Like they did the first episode this time was just, the first challenge was just to run away from 5 guys. You had a small head start. It's very eye-opening, as I said, very entertaining. I recommend you all take a look. It's well worth watching the previous seasons too. And that's enough of me gushing over a YouTube season series. But it really is good. I always enjoy it. It's really, really fun. Like they've done defenses against knife attacks, and with bloody, with knives with paint on them, and everybody gets slashed up. It's so difficult.
Jeez.
Obviously, it's not blood. It's not that.
Yeah, I know. Everybody gets slashed up. The man, whoa.
Yeah, they've got helmets on as well this season. So you can I
feel like I'm in Scotland with all this knife crime.
Yeah, tell me about it. All right, let's wrap this up. At the time of writing, I didn't know if we were going to do a preview show for UFC 322, but we probably will sometime later this evening. So make sure you ring that notification bell so you don't miss it when it comes out. We will, of course, be back next week for the card from Madison Square Gardens, where my 2nd round draft pick, Islam Makhachev, takes on Jackie 3 Names, Jack Della Maddalena, for the undisputed welterweight belt, to put him amongst a small group of fighters who have held belts at 2 weight classes. There are a whole host of draft picks fighting on the card, so you know that we're looking forward to it. Until then, we're out of here. See you next time, you bleeders. Come on, I need a drink.
Bye, bleeders.
We did it. Yeah!
See you at the garden, motherfucker. See you at the garden.
Yeah!
Lazy in charge for that one, thankfully.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's true, yeah.
And my mouse is malfunctioning. Give this man a microphone and watch the sesquipedalian, that's it. So we're going to let him focus on the winners in this week's Thrive. What's the fucking phrase? I've forgotten the phrase because I had to ad-lib it.
Thrill of victory and the agony of defeat.
Thank you. So we're going to let him focus on the winners. He can have the thrill. That phrase will not stick in my mind.
That was Dave. I guarantee that was Dave.
Nothing.
Nice. That was great communication there, Dave.
Oh yeah, that is nice. What'd you pay for that? About $300?
What?
Oh, shit. I can't wait to hear that in the podcast. That's going to be good.
I need the whole recording of this, Dave. No, don't worry, that was hilarious.